Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play and earn games on the blockchain, such as Splinterlands. And in today's video, I wanted to tackle the topic, which might be controversial, but it's a topic of really a false myth in Splinterlands, and that is what I believe to be a false myth of cheap cards are good for the game. And I think this is relevant as we are on the precipice of a release of a new card set, Rebellion. We don't know at this point in time, as the recording of this video, how many card packs and cards are planned to be minted or potentially sold. But I want to talk about this myth and really talk about the difference between utility, rarity, scarcity, and well, what we've had for the past 2 years or so in Splinterlands. So what I want to start with this conversation is something that I saw on Twitter come across my Twitter feed today, and I think it's a very interesting comment that a user had. You can see this post here is from Janil Pobleta. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Janil, but I thought this was a great post. You know, basically they say, OMFG, I love you, Splinterlands. I will never ever leave this game. And they screenshot a pack opening here of a gold foil legendary Quicks the Devious. Congratulations on that pack opening. That's fantastic for you. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this emotion, this post, and really this concept here is because this is why money comes into Splinterlands. This is why people play the game. It's to, get a chance at getting an asset that is rare, that is valuable, and has utility. Now, if, for example, Janil here opened up a Hardy Stonefish or a Venari Heatsmith, do you think they'd be posting that on Twitter for everyone to see and declaring their love for Splinterlands and never leaving the game? No, I don't think that's going to be the case, and I think we all know why. It comes down to, again, rarity, scarcity, value, and utility. And that's what we see here with this pull with Quicks the Devious. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my journey in Splinterlands, and I promise I'll make this quick and it'll be relative to the conversation here. But when I joined Splinterlands over 2 years ago, one of the first things that I was able to get lucky enough to do in the game is in a daily focus chest or daily rewards chest. I think it was on my second or third day of trying Splinterlands. I pulled a gold foil Axemaster at that time, and that was very valuable. I think at the time it was around $350 or $400 is what it was selling for on the marketplace. And I had just come into the game, and you can imagine the feelings and emotions that I was going through when I was like, I could sell this card for $350 to $400 right now, and there'd be plenty of buyers for it. I just started playing this game. I was free to play, and I couldn't believe it. Now, I know that's not sustainable, but here's where I want to show you what that gold foil Axemaster really meant in the game at that point in time. That was a reward card. It was technically part of the Untamed Dice reward set. We go to that particular card, the gold foil Axemaster here. You can see here the distribution, right? 525 gold foil Axemasters are circulating to this day. So I was, at the time, I mean, there's probably more because some of these have probably been combined over the last 2 years, but pulling one out of, let's say, 525 cards, that was meaningful, right? That was a lucky pull, and the card was valuable. To this day, what's interesting is that there's only 20,235 unique Axemaster cards, regular foil, circulating and being in the ecosystem. And that's meaningful as well, right? Again, the cards aren't super valuable now. You can see that gold foil is now worth less than $30. So it's gone down 90% in 2 years. And the regular foil is under $2. There's 2 points I want to make by calling forth this example and giving you this story. One is 20,000 cards. What is that in relation to today's soulbound cards? For example, Well, a soulbound print rate here, courtesy of Kyokiz, if we look at the common print rates for the soulbound reward cards, we're at like almost 3 million. 2.735 million Tenacious Grunt common cards are printed right now. And you've got, 2.74 million Possessed Puppets. What does that mean? Are those cards scarce? Are they rare? Are they valuable? The answer is no, because 2.7 million is a ridiculous amount being printed. They're not scarce, they're not rare, they're not valuable. And even if they could be sold on the marketplace, probably no one cares about a possessed puppet right now. And it's because everyone has, for the most part, probably plenty of them. Or if they needed to buy some, they could quickly get what they needed, and there'd still be millions or at least hundreds of thousands left over. If we go back to this Axemaster here, again, the gold foil, there's only 525 gold foil Axemasters in circulation. It's worth $30, or it's selling on the market for $30, right? 90% decline in price, but even with only 525, right, it's only worth $30 today. That's crazy when we're talking about potentially printing millions of card packs for Rebellion, and there's lots of people cheering and saying this is great, we're gonna have new card set on the horizon. But look, let me show you some more data. These are the number of battles over the last 6 months, and you're going to see a trend here. Obviously the total battles have gone down. The actual number of battles total here is still even ticking down over the last 6 months. It's probably down about 30% in the last 6 months. We can see this huge drop in this blue bar here. This is the number of battles in the Modern League. We're down to 27,000 battles a day in the Modern League, where humans actually play this game still. 27,000. Now, again, we've done this calculation in the past. I'm just going to pull it up on a calculator to show you here. If we're doing 27,000 battles in Modern with actual real people playing the game, and I know there's other people that are botting their accounts in Wild, and those are actual players of Splinterlands, but let's just talk about the people that are actually playing the game and are interested in these cards. 27,000 battles a day. Let's just say they're doing 24 battles a day. That's 1,125 real human players perhaps playing the game. Now, if we want to be conservative and say, well, maybe only, players are doing, 10 battles a day, that's fine. Then you're up to 2,700 players a day, real human players playing this game. Let's just be conservative. Instead of saying 1,125, let's just say there's 2,700 playing in Modern. They're only playing 10 battles a day on average. That's fine. What does 2,700 real players in the game mean today as we look at the precipice of Rebellion launching perhaps? Well, again, a card, an epic card, right? Gold foil, useful on land for sure, useful in the game. Axemaster is a really good card. 525 in circulation total in the entire universe out of 2,700 players. Again, this card's only worth $30 a BCX for a single copy. So even with 525, with the number of players that we have playing the game, 525 in circulation, just say 20,525. Let's do regular foil and gold foil combined. Again, 25,000 cards for 2,700 players. The average card price here, again, it's only $2 a card for a useful card, an effective card. You could almost say meta card, certainly for silver and below. It's just not valuable. It's just not scarce, even with the current player base. Now remember, in 2021, over 2 years ago, during the bull run, this card was selling for a lot more than $2. And again, I already told you it was selling for at least 10 times more in a gold foil version. Do you think we have more or less players than we did in 2021? Well, the answer probably most definitely, from the peak of the bull market craze and the SPS airdrop, we have less players than we did in 2021. So as we go into this new Rebellion set, again, everyone says we need to have cheap cards, we need to have plenty of packs, we have millions of packs. if we only have 2,700 real players playing the game right now, and you want to produce millions of packs, cards that are useful, again, that have 500 copies or even 20,000 copies in circulation aren't really that valuable or scarce. So, what I would say, my take on all of this is, if you want to continue to have the excitement here of a gold foil legendary with someone really happy about pulling scarce cards, let's make cards scarce. Let's make them valuable. Let's not print millions of copies and say that's a good thing, because, well, we'll burn some of them. Sure, right? At the end of the day, how many of these soulbound cards are we going to burn? We've got almost 3 million copies of Swamp Spitter out there. How many Swamp Spitters do we need, right? For 2,700 players, right? If we have, let's just say, 2.7 million cards of Swamp Spitter as an example, that means there's over 1,000 unique copies of that Swamp Spitter per every possible human player today. And even if you were to increase that to 27,000 players, if that's what you think we have in Splinterlands today, right? Then you've got Swamp Spitter down to 100 BCX, right? That's more reasonable, right? That's the point. You need to scale the print rate of your cards to your player base. We don't have 27,000 concurrent players in Splinterlands right now, because if we did, Swamp Spitter would be scarce. 2.7 million copies would be something that we'd all be wanting to pull. Instead, you've got a lot of printed Swamp Spitters. I know this is soulbound, but let's just take the soulbound component out of the equation. Let's just say this was sellable and tradable. For the current player base, this is way too many, and it's probably another at least 4 to 6 months of printing that has to happen for the Swamp Spitter. So you're probably going to be well over 3 million, probably close to 4 million or more of Swamp Spitter before it ends its print run. And for the current player base, it is absurd, it is ridiculous, it is not scarce, it is not rare, it is not valuable, and it is not going to bring in new players to this game. Again, it's not sellable now. Hopefully one day the option will be available for it to be saleable, but who would pay to mint this card when there's going to be tons of them in circulation and available for super cheap prices? Now, you might be saying, Tails, what are you talking about? You just said if we had 27,000 players in the game, there would only be currently on the market, if this was not a soulbound card, 100 BCX of a 400 max BCX card available for the players. And that would be valuable, that would be rare. And you would be 100% correct. And I would agree with you. But guess what? We don't have 27,000 players playing the game currently. And for you and I that are playing here, sure, we can stock up on Swamp Spitters and have a plethora of them ready to go for when players come to this game, right? And we can sell and dump on them thousands of Swamp Spitters. But here's the point. Who would ever come to this game when there's so much millions of cards here? When are these cards going to be rare? When are they going to be scarce? When are they going to be valuable? At the current print rate, it's just unnecessary to have 2.7 million for the current player base, for the magnitude that we have. Again, even if you say we don't have 1125, even if you say we don't have 2,700, maybe you say we have 5,000, maybe you say we have 10,000. In either case, we have way too many cards being printed for the current player base. The point of this video is, false myth is that cheap cards are good for new players. New players are not coming here for the cheap cards. They would come here for cards that are valuable, that are scarce. Sure, it'd be a lot harder to get those, but it only takes a couple people winning a lottery like I did with a gold foil Axemaster to get them hooked here for a long period of time, right? Cheap cards do not bring new players. And for those of us here, we can get lots of cheap cards, lots of cards, but again, People are not going to come to this ecosystem if we continue to print hugely inflated numbers of assets, like cards, like tokens, like everything in this game. We need to get to a point where we're printing the right and a adequate number of cards or assets or packs, whatever you want to call it, in Splinterlands. Insert X asset here. That needs to be with the right scale that provides scarcity, rarity, and value to those that are here today. What does that mean for the future? Well, it means that people that want cards like an Archmage Arius, right, or a Prince Julian that are very rare, if you have those cards, they will continue to be rare, they will continue to be scarce, they will continue to be extremely valuable. And it's because they're printed at the right number based on the current user base. And as the user base goes up, because they're brought in to the ecosystem because of that scarcity, rarity, value, and utility combination, they'll go up even more. But if we keep printing millions of packs just crazily for no reason, it's really a detriment and really a weight down on our ecosystem and the future of our game. Can we in the future print more cards for future sets? Certainly, when we have more players. But let's get to a reasonable amount of scarcity, rarity, and value to get to that tomorrow. If we keep printing crazy assets, we're just not going to get to where we want to be, in my opinion. Now, I will say, if the number of packs and cards continues to be printed at a very high rate and pace, the other thing that can be done by the team to address this issue of rarity, scarcity, and value is to create large sinks or burns or staking mechanisms, gameplay mechanisms in the game that takes those large inflationary and large number of assets off the table. Right? If you're going to insist on printing millions of packs, millions of cards for the current player base, you need to have sinks that will consume potentially those millions of cards and packs in turn. That way you have a balance for rarity, scarcity, and value. So that's my soapbox for today. I just think it's a false myth. Cheap cards do not bring in new players. What brings in new players? Value, rarity, scarcity. That brings in new players. What do you think? Am I completely wrong? Do you want to see sub half-cent cards, 1/100th of a penny heatsmiths flooding the market in Splinterlands forever, millions upon millions of cards for the current player base? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep stacking those stats.